Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're going back to Traitors. We're going down to Traitor land.
Traitors. That was my attempt at Alan Cumming's accent. I'm so sorry, Alan Cumming, who's definitely listening.
Welcome to Traitors. I don't know.
Ooh,
Maybe.
that was pretty good. That was pretty
good. It's funny. I've heard it somewhere. I forget where, but someone else too, where it's easy to like dip into Jamaican and Irish. Like both of those seem to have a similar sort of like, lilt, I think it is. But that one I think at least was not Jamaican. But you never know. You never know what's going to come out.
Mm-hmm. It is tough out here. But not tough to watch the Traitors, I have to say. It is an absolute delight.
But speaking of it being tough out here, first, how is your heart and mind today, dear Dr. Ray?
Can help to make change.
Yeah, totally. Oh, on a announcement note of hard pivot towards Traitors, I have a couple announcements. One is a correction for me. This is from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because that's been chugging along in the sidelines because we haven't been covering it, which is that I spoke a while ago about Portia who's Kyle's daughter. I thought Portia was her oldest daughter and Farrah is her oldest daughter. So I was like, Portia, who's like in her 30s. I was like, Portia in her 30s or such. And she like just turned 16. And I was like, oh. Right,
I didn't even clock that. My apologies. Though I intellectually know that Portia is the youngest, but I totally, I was just with you, I think.
I traded. We were just in the flow. We were in a state of flow. Yeah. And I think Portia and Farrah both end with an so it's easy to swap them right out. And I think that something I just was going to mention about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because we're not doing it, was I just wanted to note the irony of the fact that Kyle had said that she and Dorit only have a friendship on camera. Like that's the only type of friendship they have. And yet her defense of why she was telling PK that she never shares his information is because she's talking about only off camera. Like she only talks to him off camera, doesn't want to share any of his information on camera. It's like, wait a minute, but you said that your relationship was only on camera with this group. So I just thought that was some interesting irony. And then the piece that like I worry about with her is that I think her dedication to PK is based on people pleasing. She directly said he gets mad if you don't respond. And I think that was a very powerful line. I think she's worried about disappointing him, making him mad. And so like if she had cut off contact with him and was worried about disappointing him, what would have been the result? It turned out later in the episode, she didn't believe Dorit that he ever gets angry, which is blasphemous to me because we've seen him get angry and he's quite tough customer to watch even. I have a bit of a rant about him in one of our episodes, and I have a video of my rant coming out on, I think like next week, maybe. I have a new segment, by the way. You don't know this yet, but on Patreon, I have a new segment called Dr. Kay's Rants, because sometimes I have these like little rants that are typically just audio. And so I add the video in and have some video clips from the show as well. So I have one about Dr. K that's coming out soon. And it's directly about this issue. It's like, he actually is quite scary. I've always felt that way. So it's kind of wild that you would think Kyle, having seen the previous seasons, I imagine she watches them. Maybe she doesn't, and that's the answer, but would know that there's that part of him. So I think there's a part of her that still does fear his disappointment, though. So that could say a lot about why she stays in contact with him.
That's so sad in a lot of ways.
The other correction is just a little bit more related, which is perfect. So it'll segue us right into our recap, which is that when you brought up Dylan Efron's lower third, I realized that what you saw was Down to Earth, because Down to Earth is the name of his show he was on.
Oh,
with Zac Efron. Yeah,
that's hilarious. I thought it was just a description of him.
Yeah,
oh my god,
exactly.
That's so funny. I thought they were just doing the Bachelor thing.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
I know, I love it, because you were saying they might have said like Grounded, and so then I was thinking about it when I thought about the name of his show with his brother. I was like, isn't the name of the show something with Earth in it? I was like, maybe that's what Dr. Ray's thinking about, and so I realized that probably is it. That's so funny, because that would be so funny if they just did it like a pivot into that just for a second, like dipped a toe into the Bachelor style just for Dylan, which would be honestly great. I think they should do that for just like Gabby, somebody who is a Bachelor person. That would be so great. But not today, not this show. They're taking themselves seriously.
Yeah, they do take themselves. And I think it's the Alan Cumming of it all gives it a different sort of flavor. But I'm so here for it.
Me too. I loved his suit this episode. Oh my gosh.
Yes. It was so good.
Let's hear for it.
Love, 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 love.
And then I think you have an announcement too, Dr. Ray.
Yes, I have been, as we are getting more and more into our reality TV podcasting lane, I've been listening to new podcasts because I just think, I don't know, I'm just kind of really into the reality TV podcast world right now. Hopefully not just for narcissistic reasons. I think I'm just getting more into it and learning more and more. But I wanted to shout out a podcast that I've really been loving called the Bravo Replay Podcast. And it's so fun. It's like a combination of Bravo News, which I'm always here for. I want to hear the latest about BravoCon and what's happening and who's, mad at who's dating,
who's splitting,
who broke up.
Yes. Good.
So that piece is really fun. And they also do trivia, which is just like a blast.
Amazing. Is it like, oh gosh, I love that. Because there's so many like little tidbits and things. And I feel like people really become like super fans. And so they're just like, they're hungry for that. I love that. What a good aspect of it.
Yeah. So Bravo Replay Podcast, just wanted to give a shout out to them because I think they're doing some really cool stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Bravo Replay. I love it. It's one of the ones I have not heard of yet, so I'll definitely check it out. And I really love that we have infiltrated your brain and heart and brought you into the reality TV podcasting world to listen to some of our
I'm
other
here,
ones.
hopefully to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Which does bring us to a note about our Patreon, which I'm going to say at the top and at the end, which I guess would be the bottom. I don't know. About our Patreon. So, really, we don't have any shout outs to give because we are not getting new members, which is totally fair. And you know what? Understandable. It takes time and we understand that. However, we do have like just super busy lives. And also we work for a nonprofit and we really don't make a whole lot of money in the job we have, but also it's a very time consuming job. And so to be able to do this job, which frankly is kind of like our joy, it doesn't mean we'd ever stop being psychologists or teaching even, but just that we could sort of justify using more of our hours on this than, using as many hours as it actually frankly takes, because the Patreon alone is actually quite a bit of work. And so we kind of are in a bit of a impasse here where I think we've set a goal that if we could have 20 new members on Patreon by this time in 2 weeks. So if we could have 20 new members on Patreon that are paid members, not necessarily tier 3, any tier, but 20 new members by Monday, the 10th of February, then we would feel like we could stay afloat. That would just give us a sense that something's moving and shaking and worth it, right? Like ultimately, is this worth it? That's the question we're asking ourselves. And that's tough because I love doing this. I love working with Dr. Ray. We love being able to just like imagine we're having a conversation with you, even if we don't know you directly. And it would just be really wonderful to keep that conversation going and even bring it into more of a like known place if you want to join Patreon even as a free member and sort of chat with us in the chat. That said, the other goal we have is one related to what's going on with the world and what a gosh darn depressing place it is. So the other goal we have is that if we could get to 50 new members by a month from now, okay, so that's from January 27th to, that would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, by the 24th of February. If by the 24th of February we could have 50 new members, we'll start giving $10 a month to the ACLU. So if you contribute to that and help us work towards that goal, you'll also be contributing to the ACLU. How lovely is that? And again, even if you are just the tier 1 member, that contributes to us counting as a 50 member location. So that's sort of where we're at with that. I think it's depressing in some ways. It's also a reality check, reality test, if you will. That's sort of like, do we have this capacity, And it's a passion. And I would like to say that I have the time and space to have a passion that's just a passion. But this is something that actually costs money. It costs us money, not just an opportunity cost, which is the costlier part, to be honest. But it also is cost in terms of just having materials, right? And like paying for the streaming sites to be able to do the ones that we wouldn't necessarily otherwise watch or whatever it might be. There are costs. So we also love and adore you. We love our community, whatever size it is, whoever's there, whoever's listening. We do know there are quite a few listeners. So we appreciate you and want to stick it out. So stick it out with us if you would. And we got a review once that said that they like our sometimes pleasantly aggressive banter, which I just really enjoy. And it's what inspired me to do the Dr. Kay's Rants segments, mental health videos on our Patreon. And so come pleasantly, aggressively banter with us as this world continues to get dark and a little bit depressing in the next 4 years. And we can rant about it together. And that would be a joy. So that's my current rant.
Love it. Love, love, love. And yes, I totally agree with Dr. Kay. We love doing this. And, you know, we both have part-time private practices, and the hours that we spend doing this are hours that we could be spending making, frankly, more money. And any so, yeah, any money. And yes, like working for a nonprofit as opposed to being private practice full-time, like we are not, you know, where we could be in terms of our finances. And so we would be grateful for any sort of financial help to help keep us afloat. So yeah, thank you in advance. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I have a new mic for anyone who's on the video episodes. And although it looks pretty and fancy, I will tell you it was like a few dollars on Temu. So if that gives you a sense of our finances, we go for what we can. In other words, we're not looking for money to fund like expensive materials. Like honestly, we'll take the bottom level right on deck. We currently have a team that is not paid at all. Dr. Ray's partner is the one who does our audio, and what a sound extraordinaire Connor is. He's a sound connoisseur that takes care of our sound for free. So actually the first thing on our checklist is to pay him, because our audio would be woefully depressing without it. I don't know if you heard, by the way, that Khloe, I think Kardashian, started a podcast, and her first episode came out. All of the comments were like, the audio is horrific. Like you can't hear her and you can hear him really well. I don't know who it's with. I didn't listen to it, but all of the feedback was like, this sound sucks. We love you, but we hate the sound. And I was like, what a gift that we had Connor right up top, help us out right away and make sure that we're on track. So that is a person we need to pay. He also doesn't make enough money to do this for free. So help us help him and keep this afloat. We and love being able to share. Yeah, ourselves are on deck as well, frankly. Honestly, we're last on deck. We're the last ones on deck, but we're there.
We're on that deck. We are not the bosun or whatnot if we're doing a below deck med reference. We're not bosun.
Yeah.
But we are some deckhands who are also in charge of the boat who need to be paid.
Yes, exactly. And yet we're also kind of co-captains, such that if the ship went down, we'd go down with it. So help us
together.
Out. Help us stay afloat. Exactly. Holding hands, crying, maybe wearing top hats.
I love that for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's dark. Took a dark turn.
Listen, this is with the state of the world. That's where my head goes. And then the other thing I was going to say about it too, though, is that we are staying afloat. Connor, like, late on the checklist, also making sure we pay us, making sure we pay him. What was the other thing I was going to say? There's something about something, but I forget. Oh yeah. So a big goal of ours, right? Like the whole point of this podcast, and frankly, this is related to the other episode that's either coming out the week after this or the week before it. The whole point of this podcast is there are times where having a clinical psychologist step in or sort of like give some feedback, whether or not they're stepping in, giving some feedback or chiming in is the word I'd like. Chiming in about a content area is so important, because right now the reaction happening for Brynn Whitfield on Real Houses of New York is frankly extremely re-traumatizing for her. While she absolutely should be held accountable for some things, she also does not deserve the reaction she's getting. And in fact, it's doing real damage. So to me, that's something where a clinical psychologist needs to get in there and just sort of add some additional context. It's not to give her a pass. It's not to say anything about Uba, who's also very much deserving of understanding her context. But instead of having sides, instead of saying like it's Uba versus Brynn, let's just understand the context of both. Both can be true. What Brynn did is very harmful to Uba, and what Uba said to Brynn was hurtful. And there are things in terms of Brynn's history of sexual violence that deeply, deeply affect her in terms of this being the reaction to being disclosed, to a disclosing, both to her peers and to the public. So having that conversation is just so key. So Dr. Ray and I are looking forward to talking about it together. For now, there's a free emergency pod mental health checkup that is out on the podcast right now. You can go check out for my rants and rambles about it. And that's just a little bit of the more clinical piece of it, whereas Dr. Ray and I are really looking forward to talking about the episode recap and giving our thoughts as we go along the way. So these are areas that we, have been educated in and that cost money to be researched in as well. So there's something that we really hope to be able to keep sharing in these moments. So thank you for helping us help, I hope, both the reality TV stars to like look at a little bit of giving themselves a little more compassion, and ideally also the public to do so too.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you in advance.
Thank you. And let's go. Let's do this Traitors thing.
Woo!
We're in it, and we're going, and we're
Traitors.
moving, and we're shaking. Yes. Mm-hmm. So we said me first, yes?
Yes.
Fabulous. So we follow up on the Traitors in the turret. Rob promises Carolyn and Danielle he won't be coming for them, unless they come for him, of course. Danielle pretends to be good with Rob. Carolyn's a little bit more forward about the fact she's not happy with him. She says to us that she thinks Rob did it out of ego in terms of taking down Bob the traitor, because Bob the drag queen, because Bob had so many people following him. And I think that Rob tells us he can tell the energy's off. They end up talking about Rob and Sam, who's the ex of Britney Spears, and Gabby as options. Danielle says, we have to get Rob banished, but it just has to be the right time. When you take out a mafia guy, you got to do it when they least expect it. You got to be this silent assassin. That's how you deal with Boston Rob. Close scene. Next scene. Survivor's breakfast. Dylan is jazzed about working with Boston Rob to get rid of Bob the drag queen. He's just like a child in a candy store, cute as a button, really happy. So I have a segment here. My segment for this one is your psyche is showing. So something that I felt like we could see a little bit about how someone's mental health or way of being in the world is. We can learn that from the scene. And I'm just very aware that Dylan's love for Boston Rob is both adorable, and he's literally emulating him. Like, I don't know if you noticed he has his backwards hat on. He was wearing his hat backwards. My husband noticed it, and I was like, you're so right. Oh my gosh. I was like, you are spot on. So he's wearing his hat backwards, and it just shows he's a super fan, but also whether he's consciously wearing the hat backwards or not, because he might not be, he's sort of emulating his hero, if you will. And there's also this idea of what's called power merging, or merging with someone's power. And it's like self-psychology. It's a piece of what he's doing to be able to feel a little bit of Rob's power as well, just by like feeling related to him in some way. And so I love that. And I think it's also reminds me of when you're talking to somebody that you want to like you want the other person to like you, you'll imitate them quite to the point of mirroring them. Like literally they put their hand up to their face, you put your hand up to your face. And it's very subconscious. It just happens naturally. So that reminded me of that as well. And this idea of mirroring, which is the other piece that goes along with power merging. So what a cool sort of like showing his psyche in terms of those two concepts, and also what a nice way to bring in some concepts that we can all relate to too. So thank you to Dylan.
Kind of hilarious also.
I know. So
I didn't notice the backwards hat thing. Yeah. That's really funny.
Yeah. And honestly, it could turn out he did that a lot, but I don't think so. I think that was the first time. So I loved that.
I don't remember him doing that before either.
I don't associate it with him. It's so funny. So the post-traitor banishment energy is high. Everyone's feeling great. Rob got his way again in this case where Robin is evicted. He was the one who said Robin first. Everyone was sort of like, no. Carolyn was like, no. We flash back to the scene where he made that decision, and Danielle ends up giving in. She sort of says like, okay, you're probably right, Rob. And it just shows that Danielle's working hard to make it look like she's, in good standing with Rob. Carolyn, again, has to give up her idea. She's feeling frustrated, understandably. Loving Alan.
I have something to say about the breakfast.
Yes.
In particular, it's related to Bob H. and his comment to Carolyn that was like, oh my gosh, you're so sweaty. Like I think he said like, you're a hot mess or something. Rude. And I'm just like, can you stop commenting on women's appearances? Like that is what you did. So I had that as my socio-political moment. Like that is what you did on The Biggest Loser for a very long time. And it was very harmful. And I've really liked Bob H. on this season. And I think that was a little bit of like mean girl energy. And then I saw him trying to get in with the Bambis, who seem like the cool girl groups. I don't know if the things were related, but I just feel so sensitive to the way Carolyn gets treated on this show. And I thought that was a moment of like, who gives a shit if she's sweating? Like, what business is it of yours if she's sweating? She might be nervous. It might be hot. Who gives a fuck? None of your business.
Yep, exactly. Why worth commenting on it anyway?
No one commented on Tom Sandoval's massive fucking pit stains, and like he was so sweaty. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
People were very quick to comment on Carolyn's, and I didn't like that. I didn't think that was cool.
Not at all. It was really gross. And a couple people did too. There was sort of like, you look out of sorts or something. And It's like patriarchy and sexism, and also I would note even ageism, really, you know. Oh, ableism is what I was gonna say though, with Carolyn as well. Ugh, gross. Yeah. No, thank you, Bob. Sit down. Thank you much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. We'd love that. Then poor Dolo again has a friend thrown on the ground. I noticed she didn't go pick up Robin's picture though this time, which was funny. Alan threw down Robin's picture on the ground. There's conversations at the table. Ivar shares the theory that Wes shared with him. Carolyn overhears this. So the idea was, he said, Wes told me, how do you know if someone's a traitor if you're a traitor yourself? So Carolyn says to us, the way Rob went for Bob DQ, drag queen, was put a big target on his back. So that's sort of her understanding of that. Now we're in the post-breakfast scheming arena, where we see Nikki and Gabby, two parts of the Bambis, saying to Bob H., you can join the Bambis, after he was saying to Brittany that Nikki is still in his crosshairs. I thought that was ironic. So he had said to Brittany from Big Brother, Nikki's still in my crosshairs, and the next thing you know, he's like cozying up to Nikki and Gabby, who invite him into the Bambis. Brittany, by the way, agrees with Bob that Nikki seems to be acting differently. Ivar tells Rob, this is funny, because we see Ivar bring up the rumor at breakfast, but then he goes and just tells Rob that Wes came down hard on you, he says, and shares the above question about how do you know someone's a traitor, for sure. Rob goes to Wes immediately.
Oh, poor Michelle.
I know, I feel so badly hurt. What an emotional ending. What a great ending to an episode. What a great episode. Come check us out. I do want to just say, as promised, that I would like to shout out Daisy Faulkner, because we said we would shout out the number one first ever member of our Patreon every time that we talk about this. So thanks, Days. Thanks, dear Days. And we hope that there will be more members. There is one more, by the way, and that person, because they were a free member, just automatically got the free tier upgrade. So their name was Jerry something. So thank you, Jerry. Anyway, that shows something, right? Like, you could become a free member and you just automatically get a $20 a month upgrade for a whole year. I mean, that's pretty good. That's like worth a lot of money. So you might as well jump in there and get that free upgrade, and it'll count towards our 20 or 50, which is the last thing I'll just mention about Patreon, that we want to have 20 members ideally by this time in 2 weeks, so that we can keep this afloat. And if not, we really have to reconsider what we're doing, at least limit what we're doing, and maybe call it. And then the other thing is, within a month from now, or exactly 1 month from now, we would like to have 50 members in order to be able to give $10 a month to ACLU, which we will do and commit to. So that is where we're at with that. That's Patreon, which is patreon.com/realitytest. You can also search in the search bar the @ sign and then reality test, one word. The other pieces are at reality test pod is also our Facebook page name. And if you do @ sign reality test pod for YouTube, that's how you find our channel. We have our Instagram, which is at Dr. K Pods and at Dr. Ray Pods, respectively, for us, the two of us, which is not really respectively, but you know what I mean. And then we have the TikTok, which is at Dr.realitv, which is REALITV. And we have really quickly, one more thing before you take your part, which is we also have an email. Email us, give us feedback, tell us what's going on. What do you think? Why no Patreon? Tell us more. What should we do? That's at realitycheckpodding, PODDING, at gmail.com.
And you should definitely download us. It helps us to get more ads, which allows us to do this thing that we love so much.
Yeah, totally. That would be a delight. We've actually had an uptick in downloads, so that is something we can say. Thank you all who are downloading. We appreciate you very much indeed.
Very, very much.
What a joy. What a delight. We'll have some more Traitors content for you upcoming. You'll notice we are putting video episode previews on YouTube right now. So if you want to see a preview of what our video episodes look like, head on over to YouTube and then come on over to Patreon to see the whole one. And we'd love to see you during this portion right here. You'll notice I put graphics on the screen during this portion. You'll only know that if you become a member. You have to be a second tier member to see the video episodes. So come on down. And we'll see you next session.
Bye.